this is Dion Dawkins, man, and you're listening to The Scoop on owlscoop.com. You already know.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Scoop, owlscoop.com's podcast, Season 8, Episode 38. I'm John DiCarlo. Kyle Gauss is with me. Javon Edmonds, not with us this week. He's back home in Baltimore, attending to a family illness down there. We love him. We miss him. We're thinking of you, buddy. With Javon not here, he mentioned last week, he led off last week's show by saying the children are wondering when they're going to get their spot. Declan, oh my goodness. When they're going to get their spot on the Scoop.
What?
Now, Cayden Steele, of course, is with us again. And in Javon Edmonds' absence, Rymir Vaughn, Declan, Landis, and Johnny Zawislak, you have seen their bylines at owlscoop.com. Now they're joining us on the Scoop. Kyle, before we started recording, he said they look like a boy band joining us on Zoom, and here they are. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Now I think I'm going with the minor league call-ups theme. Is what I'm thinking. But this isn't AAA. This is not a guy that was on the 40-man roster. This is we had to make some moves to bring up somebody from Advanced A. But we're gonna get there.
I'm hitting at least 30 home runs in Advanced A easily.
No chance. No chance.
Easily.
No chance.
I can rake.
You can rake?
Yeah, 100%.
I think we've all seen your baseball ability with everybody here.
No,
everybody,
seen the best of it yet.
Have you done what's the thing you do, John? That one time with Graham, clown ball.
Oh yes, yeah, I did clown ball. Yeah.
Well, he did. I did. Yeah, Graham Foley, former Temple graduate, former Owl Scoop staffer, who's now doing social for which betting network?
Is it FanDuel? It's FanDuel.
It's FanDuel. Yeah. So yeah, we played clown ball. Speaking of baseball, so Johnny Zawislak, in addition to doing owlscoop.com, the Temple News, WHIP. Johnny, why don't you fill everybody in on what you've also been busy with?
Yeah, I actually just started up this season as the Phillies visiting clubhouse bat boy. So for the Reds and Marlins series, I got to be in the dugout and in the clubhouse and was, grabbing their bats. And I was also on local television for dropping a thumb guard. John Kruk and Tom McCarthy were making fun of me because they had to restart the pitch clock because I had to run back and get it.
How does it feel to be part of history in this era of the pitch clock, and you look up and they restart the pitch clock because of you? Talk to me. Were you numb to it? Was there anxiety? Were you just focused? Tell me how you felt at that time.
So it's very funny because I didn't know. I knew they had to restart the pitch clock, but I didn't know I was on television until after the game because I'm not allowed to have my phone on me. It's a new MLB rule that any clubhouse members can't have their phone in the dugout.
Wonder why that is.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Wait, what did Kyle say?
You said I wondered why that is.
Oh yeah, yes.
Imagine that.
But after the game, my phone was blowing up. These guys were talking about it because I was being talked about on Twitter. But I think during the game, it's very difficult, especially for if you go to a game and you watch me and you watch the home bat boy, I have to do so much more running than the home bat boy because I have to run across the field around behind home plate and then run all the way back to first base before the 20 seconds is up.
But are you not
heroes wear capes?
Yeah. Are you not equipped to do that already, Johnny, as a former cross country star?
No, I see. I feel like I've done a pretty good job. It's just when I run out there, the players throw their pads at me. They don't hand it to me all nice. So when they throw their stuff at me, it's all jumping up into a ball. And the thumb guards, I don't know if you guys have seen them. They're really small and you can't even notice them. And I didn't notice that he even handed me one. And then when I was running back, Garrett Stubbs was like, "Hey, you dropped that thumb guard." So I had to turn around and grab it. And that's when the camera was pointed on me when I turned around because John Kruk was already talking about me saying, "Oh, look at the bat boy run. He's running real fast." And then I had to turn around and that's when the camera went on. It was a very unfortunate sequence.
Johnny, was that a shot at Adam Crignali? The whole boy
Kruk or not Kruk. Tom McCarthy called him Adam, right? I think on the thing. I think he called you Adam because he didn't realize that there were different people.
We have two Temple grads, Adam Crignali.
Two Temple, yes. But no, it was not a shot at Adam. It was more a shot at the placement of the visiting dugout.
What?
What? I don't know. I'm just saying.
Do you think
it's more a shot at the pitch clock? I don't like how I have to like run as fast as I can for the pitch clock. And
look, a lot of things that come out of baseball changes. The offense is up, numbers are down, the amount of beers you can drink is down. But this is the most important thing.
Oh, 100%.
The amount that you have to run.
It's not getting enough coverage. No one's talking about it, and I think that's something that's going under the radar.
Yeah,
Rymir, how did you feel when you saw your protege on TV? I mean, were you proud of him? Did you cringe? Were you just like, this is all part of the growth process? What were you feeling when you saw this?
I mean, the first time I saw it, I was like, ain't no way Johnny made local television. And he definitely made local television. It was funny at first. Like, when I was seeing it, I was dying laughing. Like, I was rolled over, tears in my eyes, laughing at the fact that Johnny was on TV.
But Mir, tell him what you did that night. What did you do that night for Johnny? You went and picked him up.
I went and picked him up that night. He had a rough night, and we went and got cookies. So
that's right. We were there for him in his lowest moment. We were there for him, and that's the Owl Scoop camaraderie right there.
Yeah, I feel bad. I feel like I jinxed you, Johnny, by saying that you'd be on not top 10 for SportsCenter.
He said that I was going to make not top 10 like right before I started. It was like that week, and then of course I was on local television for messing.
Well, but today is an opportunity for a fresh start for you.
I take every day as an opportunity for a fresh start.
Well, that just sounds like
that was so corny.
Just like something out of a greeting
That's the optimism of youth before life's beating it out of you.
Yeah, Kyle's going to set you guys straight, and he's going to beat it out of you, and then he'll.
You have like 3 opportunities a year to change things around. I would say not every day. That's it. Like, every 4 months, an opportunity.
That attitude, yeah.
Oh wow, what a call out.
Anyway, we got a lot to get to today. We got
this is a Temple podcast, in case we've forgotten.
Yes, I know. It's a Temple Sports podcast. It's a little light dialogue, get everybody warmed up here. We got a little bit of a wrap up of whatever we can reasonably take from the Cherry and White game. A pretty full mailbag, some basketball updates for you as well. This is Rymir, Declan, Johnny, your first crack at the sort of fun famous numbers. So this is episode 38, famous number 38. What jumps out to you guys?
Well, in my research, I found
you're researching, Googling research.
I mean, no, I knew
this. Sound like you were going through.
I wanted to make sure. I wanted to, I knew this number.
It's your favorite player. It's your favorite player.
Favorite player. No, he's definitely not my favorite player. But Pavel Demitra, rest in peace. He passed away, but he was a really good player for the Kings for a while in the NHL. So
there you go. Declan.
Famous number 38.
How honest do you want me to be here? I could not have told you anything about him.
Yeah, that's okay.
I mean, God bless his soul.
Though. He had a really good career.
What's some of his stats? What do you do? Was
he won a world championship in 2003.
There you go.
Yes, it's true.
Declan couldn't tell you anything about him.
That's not true. That's not true. No, I knew him the whole time.
What other 38s?
Deshaun Goldston, when he played with the Niners, is one that stands out. Trayvon Williams, the cornerback from the Packers. I'm just thinking football. 38's a weird number. I feel like a Flyers player has worn it. Just can't remember who it is.
Let me give you hints. Douchebag, but good pitcher.
Oh,
his name's literally in the script, guys.
Oh, I mean, I know it. Can I say it?
Yeah.
I don't want to steal anybody's thunder. I was going to go with 38.
I was going to go with a different 38 pitcher than the one Kyle's talking about.
Go ahead.
I don't know. Maybe that guy's a douchebag.
I was going to say Kyle Kendrick.
No, I don't know. No, Kurt Schilling.
The Phillies in the World Series hit a home run.
True.
No, I know who Kyle Kendrick is. Yeah. Yes, I was saying I don't know if he's a douchebag.
Yeah.
For all we know, Kyle Kendrick could be solidly earth human being. Yeah,
maybe.
Probably not.
Sure.
Kwame Brown for one stretch, according to my quick Googling.
With the Pistons.
Yes.
Yep.
How you know
that?
I knew that off the top of my head. Definitely not my Google.
Yeah, definitely not Googling it as we speak. Yeah, 38's a weird number.
Yeah. Anybody else? Cayden, any other former Eagles?
I got one.
Got one? Go.
Cecil Martin?
Eagles fans will love him.
Who?
Orlando Scandrick.
Oh, my God.
We're number 13.
God.
For like, what, 3 games? They got cut.
There you go.
That guy. And then chirped about that 3-game stretch for 2 years.
Cecil Martin. Do you remember Cecil Martin, Kyle, fullback?
Yeah.
I think he wore number 38, right?
That I don't recall the number, but
for the purposes of this podcast, yes.
Big Z, Carlos Zambrano.
38.
He was around for a while. Actually, a lot of like Phillies. Oh, we're gonna get murdered. A lot of Phillies that like high profile Phillies wore 38 once they left Philadelphia. Steve Carlton, Robin Roberts.
Really?
Yeah, I did not know that. Wait, Steve Carlton was with the. Did he start with the Phillies?
Twins.
Did he go Cardinals, Phillies, and Twins?
He went Cardinals, Phillies, Giants, White Sox, Indians, Twins, and he wore 38 with the Twins.
Wow.
I was not alive.
No,
when he pitched.
Me neither.
I was alive for some of when he pitched. I don't know.
Cayden was alive, like in the ether. Like the soul of Cayden was out there.
Yes. There
you go, Cayden.
There you go.
What year did he retire?
88.
88.
Yeah, you were definitely out there.
Yeah, 12 years before I existed, but
for sure. Yeah, the thought was there.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if the thought was there. But...
I was 12 in 1988. I should be more
going through some stuff.
I was still, what a time. I was in like middle grade.
School, baby.
Just like a little bit of fuzz on your lip, and you think it looks cool. Your mom has to tell you to shave. We've all been there.
I never thought it looked cool. These guys, I have told them about the file that you have, like embarrassing pictures of John.
I told my 13-year-old nephew on Easter Sunday that he should start juicing.
Gotta get to the league. You gotta start.
He literally left Easter at one point to go downstairs and start bench pressing. Like went to my gym and started benching, and I was like, "Dude, if you're gonna do this, let's just do this. Like, let's lean into it."
I mean, in fairness to Ryder, like he played for a very good Downingtown Pop Warner team, right?
Sure, but like they don't piss tests. Do what you gotta do, man.
I'm sure Diane's gonna
pop, any way you can.
I'm sure Diane's gonna love this. We've always said that, like, if he actually becomes like a decent recruit, like if somebody else breaks his...
I will sell his recruitment. Yes.
What if you have to tell him, like, if he says, like, does he call you Uncle Kyle? What if he says, like, do you think I can play at Temple? And
he calls me a lot of words that can't be said on this podcast, but yes, he also calls me Uncle Kyle.
Wow.
He's again 12, 13 years old, full of testosterone and hormones and piss and vinegar.
Yeah.
That's a tough age.
Tough age. Yes, tough age. Anyway. The Scoop is now, as we've been saying for the last several weeks, happy to have a sponsor. The Scoop is now brought to you by Greenspan and Greenspan Injury Lawyers. If you have been injured while on the road or the highway and the crash was someone else's fault, the insurance company is not going to be on your side. You need us, Temple Law grads, who will fight hard to get the compensation that you deserve. We only get paid if we win. In Pennsylvania or New York, call us today at 215-261-7359. That's 215-261-7359. And you can find them on the web at greenspans-law.com. That's greenspans-law.com. All right. Cherry and white game. We know that there are maybe a few things that we can take from the cherry and white game, not a whole lot beyond that, as we've been saying for the last several weeks. The offense is watered down. The defense is watered down. You don't see much in the way of special teams other than some field goal kicking and some punting. But I think all of us were there. Johnny, were you there?
I did not get to go, unfortunately. There was a Phillies game.
Yeah, he was at the Phillies game, chasing down random equipment. What do we think we can reasonably take away from the spring game, knowing and providing the context I just provided? Rymir, I'll start with you. You wrote our game story for us. Again, like some guys flashed. We talked to Stan Drayton afterwards, and they got us, 6 players. What stood out to you, again, knowing that it's just the spring and we've still got a lot ahead and a lot of position battles that have still yet to be decided?
I equate it to preseason in the NFL. You don't necessarily watch for what teams do, but you watch for what players do.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I've seen a lot from the linebackers were pretty good. Mm-hmm. And the defensive line was pretty good. Now there has to be context added into why the defensive line was so good. The offensive line was missing a lot of players. They had a lot of new guys, transfers, freshmen, whatever.
Yeah.
But the D line popped. Mm-hmm. Everyone popped. Jacob Porter, him specifically popped a lot. Mm-hmm. Merrick Morris popped. Mm-hmm. Those two really stood out on the defensive line for me.
Mm-hmm. Kyle Williams. What do we think of Kyle Williams? at running
I
back.
think he looked. Sorry.
You want to go?
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
I think he looked really. I want to give Rymir the floor.
Big time, Rymir.
No,
We're still trying to nail the chemistry.
Yeah, try to get it done. But I think Kyle Williams looked really explosive. I mean, who's going to say if he's definitely going to play this year? No one really knows, but he has a true opportunity in that running back room. Because Edward Sadie, although proof steady last year, I don't think, was definitely a proven 3-down back that has had a ton of success at this level. I think Darvin Hubbard didn't really pan out last season, but he has had a full offseason. Maybe he'll get some more carries, but I think he could be a guy that of all the freshmen coming in has a really good shot at playing early. And I think he brings a different element to what they have, because I don't think Sadie has a ton of speed. I don't think Hubbard does. The only guy who had it last year, Trey Blair, is out of the room now. So I think he has an element of speed and quickness that no one else presents. And I think that could get him on the field early, especially with a guy like Jacko Smith getting in a little bit later. Maybe he's got the edge because he's been here since January. So
we know where Trey Blair's going yet?
I don't think he's going anywhere.
He was
honestly, I don't think there's been that many commitments at all from kind of the guys that have left. You didn't see where Jalen Satchel went. Kobe Wilson's still out there. They're all kind of still just lingering.
Just bouncing around in the portal.
Just living life, man. Seeing what the world has to offer.
Living life. EJ, I think the bigger story with EJ Warner was, he threw a couple touchdowns. He threw a pick that he'd certainly like to have back. But the bigger story with him is he's becoming more of a vocal leader. He actually, physically, you could see more muscle definition in his arms, his shoulders, his legs. One of the guys that when Stan Drayton was asked about, who stood out, and Stan Drayton, keep in mind, is a guy, for context, he's coached at Ohio State. He's coached at Texas. He's done a stint in the NFL. So he knows what talent looks like. And we're going to play a clip for you here. And just, not position specific, he was asked who stood out to you this spring. And the first name he brought up was Jordan Smith at tight end, which will kind of segue us in a couple minutes into the tight end depth, was another thing that came up. So this is Stan Drayton talking about the strides that Jordan Smith made this spring.
What do you think, EJ? It's been quite a few guys made some big jumps, huh? I'll tell you a guy who really sticks out, and unfortunately he has a little bit of a setback with the injury, but Jordan Smith was a guy who I thought made tremendous gains, not only on the field but off the field. A guy who just completely changed his habits and completely changed his routine and completely got aligned with his personal goals and our team goals. And, it's unfortunate to see him go down with a little bit of a setback. And again, he's going to be fine, but I would have to say that he made probably the most substantial gains over time in the spring.
All right. So a tight end. Yeah. Again, we're not going to try to overreact here, but it looks like they might actually have some depth at that position. Now, granted, they got to throw to these guys, but it seems like they will. It seems like Danny Langsdorff has been committed to throwing to these guys. What'd you guys see from that position group on Saturday?
I think that position group looked really solid. I think you saw what you expect out of David Martin Robinson. He's been really good over the last few years. Obviously hasn't been able to stay healthy, but I think when he's on the field, he's pretty effective and he's a good target for EJ. I think Reese Clark is pretty athletic for this position. He was a wide receiver coming out of St. Joe's Prep, so I guess he's made that transition over the last year. And I thought he looked pretty solid, got open a few times. And I think Landon Morris showed some athleticism. And there's a reason Utah recruited him. And I think he's a guy that, really impressed me as well on Saturday. So I think you have three guys right there. And then you mentioned Jordan Smith being there. And then you have a guy like James Della Pesca, even though he doesn't really do much as a receiver. He was out there and he does some of that dirty blocking. So it seems like you got five guys that you have different options, different skill sets with. So, and Jordan Smith's another former wide receiver. So they got a lot of athleticism in that room.
Landon is he's all but certain he's probably going to have to sit, right?
Correct, because he's already transferred once from Syracuse to Utah. Yeah. And the NCAA has kind of come out and said, barring something absolutely ridiculous or extraordinary, we're not going to get double waivers.
Yeah. Rymir, what did you think of the tight ends?
I thought the tight end group looked really good. Every single person from the room did something, whether it was DMR being consistent or Reese Clark. Reese Clark is somebody who really surprised me because I think he may not get any snaps next season. He probably doesn't get any snaps next season. But when it's time for him, I can see them opening up the playbook a lot, and you can start seeing things like tight end jet sweeps or
they did. I hadn't seen that. Granted, again, for context, we don't see spring ball. We don't see spring practice. We didn't even, I guess it was open for like first 15 minutes of B-roll, but yeah, that was one of the first few plays of the game, right? It was like a tight end jet sweep to him. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know he was that fast.
Yeah, he looked very explosive, and that's not something that you necessarily see from the tight end position, especially the guys that they have on the roster now. He brings a different element. We probably won't see it this year, but next year and in coming years, I think they'll really have a player with him that they can do a lot of different things with.
What's going to be interesting with him is he's listed at 220 right now, which means he's probably like 212. Which means he needs to put on a lot more weight before he sees the field, which means how do you do that without kind of losing that dynamic, that speed aspect that he has now? But I agree. It probably won't be this year because you have DMR, you have hopefully Jordan Smith if he comes back from that injury. But then after that, it's like that's the reason Landon Morris transferred here is because he knows that like starting in 2024, there's going to be a crap ton of tight end snaps available.
Yeah. So we have a lot of spring ball content up on the website. Again, spring ball's over, but we have Max Dinnenberg's story on EJ Warner up on the site, Declan story on Jordan McGee, Declan story on DMR. Again, you can go back and take a look at Rymir's recap of the spring game. And again, if you're looking for some football recruiting updates as well, we've got some names on the football board that you guys will see, some priorities from the 2024 class. If you're an owlscoop.com subscriber, you can check that stuff out. Also, if you're an owlscoop.com subscriber, you'll see by the time this podcast is out, had the chance to catch up with Tyler Matakevich, Bills linebacker. And I feel like it sounds cliche to say special teams ace. Every good special teams player is described as a special teams ace, but he's really been good on special teams. I
think you could say that when like you solely play special teams. Like he's carved out like an 8-year career just playing special teams.
Yeah.
So he has ace-like qualities.
Yeah.
It's like the Phillies. They're not quite aces, but they have ace-like pitchers.
Kyle, a Braves fan, is just looking to
Wheeler is an ace. I will give you that Wheeler is an ace.
You know who's not an ace? Johnny. Who's not an ace?
No, don't incriminate yourself.
Oh yeah,
can't
Aaron Nola. Don't bite the hand that feeds, man.
Can't do it.
Aaron Nola.
It's a trap.
Not an ace.
I feel like I'm being trapped.
You are.
He had a quote where he said, "Other than a couple bad innings have been great." Yeah, that's what starting pitching is, man. You can't have those terrible innings.
Hey, point. Without Aaron Nola, they don't make the World Series. So,
can you say that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good.
I wasn't a bad boy at the time. I wasn't a bad boy.
You're right. It was the 2022 team. We're good.
Yeah. But if you are an owlscoop.com subscriber, you will get access to my full conversation that I had with Tyler Matakevich, again, his 8th season in the NFL. Talk to me about just coming back to Temple. He's one of several former players who came back to watch the game Saturday. Matt Ioannidis was there. Avery Ellis was there. Quite a few former players were there. So this is a clip from that conversation. Again, if you're an owlscoop.com subscriber, you can hear the full thing on the site. But this is Tyler talking about being back, being able to play up in Buffalo with Dion Dawkins, and what his memories are of like being in the spring game and what you can reasonably take from the spring game.
What's it like being back today? I think, when, hate to say it, but when Rod Carrier was here, it just seemed like a lot of the former players felt like there was a disconnect between that staff and these guys. Doesn't seem to be that way with Stan Drayton staff anymore. You've been back. A lot of guys have been back. What's it like to be back today?
Yeah, it's awesome. Unfortunately, I haven't been back and it's been quite some time. You know what I mean? And,
you've been busy.
A little bit, but I really wish I could get back as much, like way more, but just seeing some of these old guys, I'm just hanging out with Kenny Harper and freaking Matt Ioannidis and like Myrick and Avery Ellis, like all these guys I played with that are still, playing ball competitively and stuff. And it's just awesome being back here because, this is where it all started. Being here on 10th and Diamond, like people on the outside looking in, they don't understand how tough and how special this place is. You know what I mean? 10th and Diamond, it's not built for everybody. It takes a special individual to come here. You know what I mean? And and stay here for 4 years. Like it's tough, you know. So, and I mean, I'm so blessed, and I wouldn't change anything with me coming here. I mean, I think I tell everybody, like, the best decision I ever made was coming to Temple University.
When you've been through a spring game like this before, and you know that the offense is watered down, the defense is watered down, the whole goal is like, don't get hurt, give the fans a show. So what is it like for players, and especially when, I mean, you started playing right away. Is this more of not an off day for starters, but more of like a take it easy day for starters? Like, what does a team get out of a spring game like this?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, every time we always used to think, you knew, like, once it was a spring game, you knew the season was right around the corner, you know. So whenever the spring game came, it was always some excitement. You were just getting jittery, antsy, getting ready for that season because you knew it was time to just crank it up. But I mean, this is awesome for the younger guys, you know what I mean, just to showcase their talent, show everybody how they've improved in the off season, and then shoot, at the same time, it's, oh, you didn't like the way you played, well, now you can work on this, you know what I mean? So you get a lot out of the spring game.
Being able to do what you're doing in the NFL with Dion, not only you're playing well, he's playing well, and not only for him to play well, but his personality showing through. You knew how goofy and funny he was when he was here, and now that he's on commercials and people can really see what he's like, what's it like to experience that with him now in the NFL?
Oh man, I just always think about the young Dion, the raw Dion coming in here at a high school, you know what I mean, being so young, and now I'm walking into sandwich shops and I see he's got like a big cutout cardboard of himself, and I just can't help but laugh, but that's him, that's his personality. I mean, he's been the same, his personality from when he was here is the same like now in the league, you know, he hasn't changed a bit. He's always got a smile on, you could hear him from down the hall. I mean, shoot, I love Dion. I mean, I'm so proud of who he's become, you know what I mean, and everything he's doing. I mean, the amount of work he does off the field for the community and stuff, I mean, it truly is special. It takes a special individual to do that, and I mean, I'm just happy to be a part of it with him.
All right, so in addition to that, with subscriber content, also have my interview with Lynn Greer up on the site. Shifting over to basketball here for a second, Lynn Greer was back for Adam Fisher's press conference. We had a clip from that conversation in last week's pod. So just some of the stuff that you get as an owlscoop.com subscriber. More often than not, the stuff that's behind the paywall for subscribers, it's usually one-on-one interviews, content that you can't get anywhere else. The last thing we will not do is repackage stuff from other podcasts and aggregate stuff and put it behind a paywall. That's a waste of everybody's time. So we'll make sure that your subscription is worth it. So again, check out our football board, some new names up there from the 2024 class. We want to save that for our subscribers as well. Let's shift over to this Temple basketball team. Things are starting slowly but surely to take form. By the time, last week when we had recorded at this time, things were still sort of up in the air with Hyseer Miller. Showed up at the spring football game on Saturday, and then he announced on Monday that he is coming back, returning to Temple. Had some interest in the portal from Fordham, Providence, Seton Hall, SMU. Averaged 8.6 points, 3.8 assists, 3.1 rebounds per game. Did see a bit of a drop off in his 3-point shooting, and we all know he needs to learn how to finish better around the rim. But again, still a big deal for Adam Fisher to retain his starting point guard there. By this time next week, if we end up recording again on Thursday or Friday, I mean, nothing's definite. Kyle, you think by this time next week we'll know something on Zach Hicks?
I would hope so. I mean, he's either currently at UTEP or is visiting UTEP this weekend. I think that's out there. And then he's kind of down to that Final Four that Javon's put out there. And at that point, he will have visited everybody. Like, you visited Georgetown, you visited Penn State, you visited Temple every day for the last 2 years, and you went down to get some tacos at El Paso. So, like, I'd say probably by next week, this is resolved one way or the other.
Yeah. So, and again, we know by now that Damian Dunn has moved on to Houston. Caleb Battle is committed to Arkansas. Jamil Reynolds is committed to Cincinnati. And you all know by now that Nick Jourdain is committed to Memphis. He committed to Memphis a couple weeks ago. And we talked about this before, but lends credence to a point Kyle made that when you look at where these guys ended up out of the portal, the talent was there. You know, this was the transfer portal benefited from Temple's roster. And I think if we were sitting here talking Aaron McKee, Chris Clark, Jimmy Fennerty, Monte Ross, who got the job at North Carolina A&T, the pieces were there. And for whatever reason, and we got a mailbag question about that last week, just didn't get things done. So now, and again, we'll get to a lot of mailbag questions here that are mostly basketball centric. But I mean, yeah, a lot of Temple players that were good in 2022, 23 leaving and starting to find their other destinations. But again, a lot of that is still yet to be determined in terms of who Temple is going to add in the portal. And we'll get to that here. A lot of questions, a lot of portal centric questions in the mailbag. Guys, this is your other than Cayden, first Owl Scoop mailbag here. Congratulations.
Oh, it's exciting.
This is a crazy, it's surreal.
Kyle's just looking around. He's like,
long time listener, first time caller.
Kyle's gonna deflate this.
Oh, I was just saying, you said other than Cayden, this is your first mailbag. So I've probably done about 400.
Yeah.
400.
Congrats, Kyle. Welcome to your first one.
We have been here for a minute.
We'll close out the mailbag later on. Again, our friend Pat Egan from 97.5 The Fanatic texted me a mailbag question. We'll close things out with that one. First one here, again, these are the screen names of owlscoop.com subscribers. The first one comes from Constitution Al. His question: any thoughts on the new Big Five format? I actually don't hate the idea, but do you think it is unfortunate that it seems that the days of annual games against either Villanova or St. Joe's are coming to an end? So, I mean, this will be fun to debate. Kyle, I'll start with you. I mean, like, as of now, from what I remember, right? Like, Temple and Nova are not in the same pod. Does it look like?
Correct.
We can't really presume. I mean,
that's not going to be forever. If I had a gun to my head, like, they're not going to keep the same pod forever.
Right.
But,
and we don't know
this initial pod's about as bad as they can get.
Yeah. I mean, do you think they're trying to set up? We shouldn't even be presuming this because who knows what Temple's going to look like depending on what they do or don't do in the portal. But, like, do you think they were trying to set up a Temple Nova championship game if they could, or are we overthinking that?
No, I think a lot of it comes down to, like, you were kind of handcuffed to begin with, right? Like, LaSalle and St. Joe's already play each other in the Big Ten. That'd be a hell of a fit. In the A10. So I think like those two automatically had to not play each other unless they get to like a championship. Nova and St. Joe's, you're going to keep the Holy War going for a while. So like that's basically like they have to be together. Does it work out that Temple, odds are, is probably the favorite to come out of that pod? Sure, but it is kind of a weird feeling to know that like best case scenario you're going to play Nova and not play St. Joe's. Like there's a scenario where you never play Nova and St. Joe's again in the same season. Like if the pods don't kind of reconfigure, like that's just strange. I understand that like it's not the best format. I also think the Big Five was on life support, and like it's not like they took this perfect situation that everyone was loving and they're like, well, now let's mangle it. I think with schools getting more and more towards these 18 game, 20 game conference schedules, that they're saying, hey, like we just don't have that. We can't waste half of our out of conference schedule every year on the Big Five. So it's either do this or say goodbye and listen to people dream of yesteryear for the remainder of our time doing this podcast.
What, Rymir, Declan, Johnny, Cayden, you guys are.
Do you guys as students give a crap about the
That's
Big Five?
Exactly.
Yes,
that's exactly what I was gonna.
I
That's
do.
exactly what I was gonna ask.
I do.
Because you do hear, Kyle and I have talked about this a bunch of times, and I feel bad saying this, but sometimes you go to cover a Big Five game, whether it's here at Temple or at the Palestra, and certain media members just ask some of the same cliche questions, and they will ask them. It's a classic example of somebody trying to shoehorn a question in, and the Palestra will be half full and be like, what was the vibe like in the building tonight? And they're just clinging on to something that was, but we know attendance hasn't been great. Yeah, but for you guys as college age students, yeah, what does the Big Five mean to you? Are you guys in favor of this? Were you aware of the Big Five? What are your thoughts on this whole deal?
I mean, I'm one of the bigger Big Five advocates here. I think in Temple student media, I think it's I think when the reports first came out in January, I was a little upset. Not for the fact of like the idea of the pods, because I think I'm with Kyle. The Big Five was on life support. You needed to do something to kind of rejuvenate and do something else because what you were doing wasn't working. But I do think the Palestra not being involved in the format at all, I think is a mistake. I think you're getting rid of something that was very historical and something that was very integral to the Big Five. And just, I understand like putting it at a neutral site and putting it at the Wells Fargo Center. Like I get it. But I think the Palestra, so much has happened there, so many magical moments, and I think you're missing out on that and not going and being at the Palestra, at least at the minimum for the championship game, or like that championship, like what is it, the first Saturday in December or whatever it is.
Right.
I think that's you're missing out on that.
I would agree with that. I get why it's happening because like Comcast Spectacor is a big part of this, and they want it to be at the Wells Fargo Center. But no, I would agree with that. The fact that the Palestra isn't in this is strange.
Do they have to?
How am I going to pee in a trough? Okay, that was the best part of the Palestra. You go in and get this over.
Well, ironically enough, you're talking about peeing in a trough, but I think this has come up before. I don't know if it came up in the conversations with the Big Five stuff, but one of the things that holds back, in addition to the capacity, when the American was, when people were saying, okay, where's the American conference tournament going to be? At first it was up in Hartford, which they called the Heartbeat. Do you remember we sat down at a bar and they're like, welcome to the Heartbeat? And we're like, oh, we didn't.
Oh, I remember everything about Hartford, Connecticut, John. One of those truly magical cities.
Yeah.
Never been spoken.
One of the things that holds back the Palestra sometimes is people say and I don't know if this is what eliminated them from this, you don't have much in the way of parking. It would be everybody's got to take, well, not everybody, but a lot of people would have to take public transportation. You don't have enough bathrooms, media availability, space. I think that's some of the stuff that holds it back sometimes. Again, I wasn't involved in these conversations. I'm sure they're banking on or hoping for a ton of revenue, ton of fans, plenty of parking, plenty of seating. And that's
the Palestra literally doesn't even have media bathrooms, right? I feel like we always have to go
outside. Yeah.
Wild.
There are times where at halftime, you're sitting, if you're not in one of the media seats behind one of the benches, you're way up top, you come downstairs and then you're in line thinking you're going to pee yourself, and you're hearing people talk about, I remember taking the L here when I was, with my grandfather, and I just want to pee so I can get back and cover the second half. And you're hearing people talking about stuff. But yeah, there's no media bathrooms. I know these are first world problems, but yeah, I think that's sometimes what holds the Palestra back is a lack of amenities, I suppose.
I think my thing with it is if they really want to make this a big deal, it's got to show at the marketing level, because we talked about it last season with, the Big Five doubleheader and how there were no students. Well, you didn't really hear about it, at least here on campus. We didn't really hear about it even happening. If I wasn't working in media, I might not have known that it was a big deal. And, it was a doubleheader that, multiple teams were playing, and it's at the Palestra and it's a big celebration. So I think that's got to change. And I know that there was a quote at least going around that time where it was, oh, Temple doesn't make any money from a game at the Palestra, so why promote it? Well, then, are we really going to make this tournament a big deal if it's not marketed like a big deal? Because a lot of the kids that are coming in don't know about the history and the tradition of the Big Five. So they need to make, I think it's a start that there are 3 games on the same day in the same building, but it's got to be more than just 3 basketball games. It's got to be, which is probably part of the reason for the pods being that Temple and Villanova are separate. And then the idea being they'll play in the championship game. It's got to be marketed like a big deal. And Temple hasn't really shown me that they have that ability to do that just yet. But hopefully when we get into late October, early November, we're going to start hearing more and more about it, and more tickets will sell and that kind of thing.
Yeah, Johnny talked about the Palestra not wanting to, because it wouldn't be a neutral site. You get to a Temple Villanova game at the Wells Fargo Center, it will also not be a neutral site. It will
not be a neutral site.
There'll be more people there.
That's true.
Yeah. But Nova fans, hey, again, when your program wins a couple national championships, that helps. Let me ask you,
what's the? Oh, sorry, I don't think anybody has the answers, but I want to ask, what's the revenue distribution of that? Because before with the old Big Five, it was okay. Well, who's the home team? They're getting this. They're getting the gate. If everything's on a neutral site like that, is it being evenly split?
I was going to ask about that, and also I'm going to sound like an old cynic when I say this, but what matters more at this? Yes, marketing can't hurt. But for you guys, again, we're talking to a college student demographic here. How much does marketing matter, and how much would it be let's say Adam Fisher starts off 5 or 6-0. They start making a decent run through their non-conference schedule. There's some youth enthusiasm, new energy. Is it marketing, or are students going to be like, hey, I'll get on the subway and go down there just because I'm interested in Temple basketball again? Again, Temple had that opportunity. The Houston game was sold out here. They lost, of course, but obviously marketing efforts are key. But for you guys as college students, is it more does marketing matter more, or is it just oh, the team's winning, this is the place to be, I got to go down there?
I think winning solves all things. And we talked about the Big Five and the history of it. But since I've been a Temple student and since you guys been Temple students, the program hasn't been very good. They haven't made an NCAA tournament since 2019 when they lost in the play into Belmont. And everyone always talks about these classic battles at the Palestra with Penn and LaSalle and all these different schools. But since, the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of these schools, at least for our generation, haven't been very good. It's been ran by Villanova. And I think there's just not that interest. I remember being in a class once. I forget, it was one of my journalism classes. It might have been neighborhoods. And Javon was doing an article on the Palestra for the class. And our professor asked who here knows what the Palestra is. And like one other person rose their hand besides me and Javon. And so I think it kind of just shows that marketing of the Palestra and all that stuff doesn't really resonate with, people our age, because we don't really care about what happened in the 90s and the early 2000s. But I think if Temple starts to win and LaSalle starts to win and St. Joe's starts to win and all these teams are borderline NCAA tournament teams or at least NIT teams, I think there will be a lot more interest and there'll be a lot more fans coming out. Because like you said, John, we saw what happened with the Houston game. After they beat Houston the first time at home at Liacouras, that thing was close to being sold out or might have been sold out, at least to like ticket sales wise. And then they lost. And then after the year, no one was interested after that. Like Wichita State, no one came out. I think you have to win to get fans out. I think marketing could do a better job, like Declan said, but you can market the hell out of something. But if you don't have success, nobody's going to care at the end of the day. And I think that resonates with, most schools, unless you're a Power 5, Big 10 basketball program that has so much history and your whole school is, defined with sports. But I just don't think Temple is that type of university where it's like, it's all about sports. And I think you got to start winning.
Yeah.
I completely agree with Cayden. I think winning definitely does solve all problems. There's a reason why the week 1 game or the first game of the NFL season isn't Raiders Cardinals or something like that. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how you market it. No one wants to watch it. So if you have a bunch of okay to, below average teams, I don't care how much you market it and show it in front of me. I'm not going to want to go because it might not be a good game. And it's most likely not going to be a good game because these teams aren't that good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any final closing thoughts here before we move on to the next mailbag question?
I don't know. I think you can have a great team and not sell the team as well. Like Fisher talked a lot about in his press conference and his media since then, how he wants to show his face, how he wants to be out there and be available to the public. And yes, I agree that winning does solve a lot of things, but I also feel like you have to feel some involvement in a team to care about them, to see them win, and then show up at every game after that. I think it goes hand in hand. It starts with winning, but without good representation of that team out in public, people aren't going to care as much about somebody they don't know who also is winning versus somebody that they have, they feel like they know a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think winning raises the floor, right? Because when Temple was winning, going to 6 straight NCAA tournaments, there were still plenty of games on weekdays where you're there's 6,000 people here. The problem is that those bad days were 6,000, and now those bad days are 1,100 people in the Liacouras Center, and you're struggling. Why are we even doing this? So I think if you all of a sudden just became a perennial winner, yes, you're going to get more people in the stands, but it's still not going to be all of a sudden the Liacouras Center is sold out unless you market it appropriately. Yeah. Not to harp too much on this. I saw something on Twitter that I actually thought was an interesting idea because now the Drexel's in the Big 5 and there's 6 teams. Just do European soccer relegation. The last place team every year, they're just not in the Big 5 for the next year.
Is there a plan to get back into the Big 5 then?
No, it's just because there's only one team out, right? Unless you're hey, guess what? Eastern, come play. Or your sinus come play.
That'd be
you could do that.
They play you.
Look, imagine you just get some upstart some upstart donor gets Westchester into the Big 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
And eventually it's University of Delaware coming in every now and then. Oh, that'd be sick.
Battle for Route 202.
That'd be amazing.
Wilmington University, yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
How far down 202 do you want to go? Next couple questions here. There's similar questions. Again, these are owlscoop.com subscribers. Joe Becca, a longtime subscriber, and one of our newer subscribers, Kaleem Goodman. So the questions here, aside from tweets from players saying they've heard from Temple, what are some of the players in the portal that you think have the highest mutual degree of interest? Again, and Kaleem's question, can you guys please name some portal players that you think Temple has a real shot at? We have a couple names on the basketball message board that we're going to leave for subscribers that we don't want to give away here on the pod. A couple of names that have been out there that we could confirmed for you. Our Quante Berry is one. He's a 6'4", 175-pound guard from Providence who redshirted this past season, had some pretty decent recruiting interest along the way before ending up at Providence. And that's one name to throw out there. We got another name, and it'll apply more to another question here, a couple of questions in the mailbag. Next question from Chi-Town Al. Can you clarify who on the roster is definitely staying and how many scholarships are open? So who on the roster is definitely staying? I mean, again, unless things change, we got Jaleel White, Emmanuel Okpomo, Hysier Miller is back. Deuce Roberts, we haven't heard anything about Deuce being in the portal, so I'm assuming he's staying. Tosh Tweet, again, if he transferred anywhere, would have to sit out because he's already transferred a couple of times. I mentioned Jaleel, right? Or did I met?
Yeah, did you say Shane Dezzoni?
Shane Dezzoni.
Then Zion Stanford is coming.
Zion Stanford is coming in from West Catholic. Again, we'll see what happens. Like we said earlier in the pod, we should probably know by this point next week. We would think, what's going on with Zach Hicks. But yeah, that leaves how many scholarships open at this point?
Currently, there are 6 open scholarships. That's without Zach, so that could go back to 5. I think it is important to note that technically they have till May 11th to enter the portal. So in theory, if Deuce Roberts or Jaleel for whatever reason stops being wanting to be a part of it and isn't feeling it, like they could still leave, but we're not hearing anything imminent with that.
Yeah. Next question here. The screen name is Berkshire Al. What is the latest on filling out the staff? Any word on possible additions? Nothing super concrete that we could give you. I think Kyle, hopefully not speaking out of turn here. I think I'd be mildly surprised if Adam Fisher didn't add somebody in an off the bench role that has some sort of AAU ties in some way, shape, or form. And that's something that maybe might take another few weeks or a month to develop.
Yeah, that's not as pressing, right? Because those guys can't go on the road, like things like that. So I think the immediate need was obviously filling out the bench roles, which they've filled out, even though they still haven't officially announced those. I guess those might still be going through HR. But yeah, I think I would expect somebody from AAU to be off the bench, which isn't as important as it was a decade ago, because now you have NIL. You don't really need to worry about getting in good necessarily with everyone's AAU coach, but like these are still guys that are around these basketball players for 4, 5, 6 years that obviously have relationships with them and their families. So it would be a savvy move to add 1 or 2 AAU coaches to this bench.
Yeah. Next question. Here's where we'll get back into the portal again. DBlaze75 is the screen name. We have no bigs currently other than Emmanuel Okpomo. Any names of potential players in the portal we may pursue who are bigs? Or are we going to see Jaleel White or some other 6'7" guy playing center? Well,
we have Taj.
Yeah, I mean, Taj is sort of.
I'm saying, like in that scenario, like I think they would add people for sure. But in that scenario where it's like, oh, we're going to have some 6'7" guy playing center, I would think Taj should play in the paint before that.
Speaking of 6'7" guys in the portal, Miles Foster from Monmouth is another name that we've been able to confirm. We'll see how it turns out. But he's 6'7", 235, 240 out of Monmouth, averaged 12.5 points and 6.6 rebounds a game there. So, I mean, he's not in the 7-foot range. But again, things are still, as Kyle pointed out, like people, like fans might feel like it's not early in the portal cycle, but there's still time there. That's a name that we can confirm. It's not necessarily like a secret that's out there. But
I kind of want to harp on what you just said, like in agreement, where I understand that people are like, for lack of a better phrase, frustrated. And they're like, hey, why isn't this entire roster filled out? Why hasn't Adam Fisher paid dividends already? What's going on? There have been 2 open recruiting days since Adam Fisher got this job. Like 2 days, 2.5 days, they were allowed to have recruits on campus. So like it is very early. The season's not for another 7 months. If we're sitting here in 2 months and it's like, hey, there's still 5 open scholarships, then you have time to worry. Right now, it's way too early.
Yeah.
But I understand, like, it feels like it's been forever because it's been 6 weeks since Aaron McKee got let go. And it's just been every day since then has been, like, grinding, grueling.
Yep. Okay. Football mailbag question here. Do we want to go round robin on this? I say we go rapid fire. So the next screen name here is Hoots a Lot. And again, we're going to get this question here, there, and everywhere leading up to the football season. What's your way too early win-loss assessment for the 2023 season? And do any observations from spring ball influence your assessment? Let's answer that part first. Again, context included. Rymir, great analogy. When you're looking at spring ball, it's kind of like the preseason. You're really not looking at the so much the wins and losses. You're looking at like who flashes. So did anything from what we heard, we should really say maybe heard from in spring ball, because Trey and White game is one thing. Whether we're interpreting, tone from coaches, things they're saying, anything that we heard about or reported from spring ball, did any of that change your mind to where you'd think, this guy flashing or this guy who keeps coming up in conversation, maybe that buys him a win in the season? Anything that you guys have observed from spring ball where you say, maybe they're a 7-win team now than a 6-win team? Anything along those lines that kind of move the needle for you?
No, it's spring ball. It's like, again, I'm going back to the preseason analogy. None of that will matter. Summer matters more, and like, I guess training camp matters a lot more than spring ball. This is essentially rookie mini camp.
Install.
Yeah, install is. There is nothing that you could have took away from that made you say, oh, yeah, they're going to win 6 games instead of 5 this season.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with that, where you kind of can't take away with the win total. I think the only thing you could take away from a spring ball is the names that kept on getting brought up out of nowhere. Always thought it was interesting that Demerrick Morris's name was brought up constantly. And you saw him, I don't know what that meant inside of the building, but his name was on a wall with, I thought it was interesting. A guy like that is brought up because you have no Darian Varner on the defensive line now. I think there's a little less experience up front, so he might be that guy to take a next step. And then just a few other guys, mentioned throughout the offseason with, talking about EJ Warner and how much strength he's gained and stuff like that. I think those things are, important to watch out for individual growth. But as a team, I can't tell you if they're going to win 5, 6, 7, 4 games. Like, I don't think anyone knows right now.
And I agree with you guys to some extent, but I do think it makes it more interesting with some of the transfer names that they brought in. I mean, Kamar Wilcoxon, DeJuan Black, Dante Wright on offense. I think they're players to watch out for. And then these are guys that, talking to coaches and talking to some of these players in the media availabilities, and these are guys that have stepped into somewhat leadership role positions in their first couple months here on campus. And I think while their production may not have been outstanding at their other colleges, I do think that they can step in and make a big impact for Temple and fill in holes that they were missing last year and help add a couple more wins to their total.
And I don't know if this guy moves the needle too much, but I really liked how Kyle Williams looked in that spring game. And I know you guys said it was, and Stan even said it too, it was about getting guys healthy, but he looked really explosive. He looked like he could play in the run in the pass game, and it'll be nice to have him in the backfield next to EJ. I think that's a guy that, you should keep your eye on this season as well.
Yeah, I mean, historically, we are a pro Kyle podcast, so I like that. But I think the most important thing that comes out of spring football is it allows the coaching staff to determine like what do we need to target in the transfer portal before the fall. So like I don't think all of a sudden Dwan Mathis's name getting brought up a lot is going to prevent them from being like, sorry, I can't take this 1,200-yard receiver that's in the transfer portal. But it doesn't hurt with that room, with his name keeps coming up as, hey, he's made the transition. He's really taken this in stride. Like, he has the natural talent. Maybe that gives them a little bit of pause about like, well, let's not just bring in a wide receiver just for depth. Like, maybe we do have more there than we thought we had. But yeah, other than that, I'll just echo what everybody else says of like spring football does not move my needle one way or the other when it comes to outcomes for the season, unless it was something catastrophic, which it seems like they avoided. Like, if you told me, oh yeah, EJ Warner took a hit despite wearing a green jersey and now he's out for 3 months, like that would give me pause. But since they avoided some tragedy like that, I'm still at my same just general feeling of this team's going to be competing for bowl eligibility, but I don't think they're all of a sudden like a 9 or 10 win team.
What are we thinking? Do we want to go rapid fire on win-loss? I mean, like super quick on this.
I'll start. Keep it to like under 10 seconds. 6-6. I think they're going to need to beat somebody that you don't expect them to beat to get to 6-6 too. Whether that's Miami, Rutgers, UTSA, something like that. They'll have to go 6-6.
They'll go 5-7. I think they'll fall just short of making the bowl game, and we'll see some flashes, but not enough to get over the hump.
I'm pretty optimistic about this team. I think they're going to surprise some people. So I'm gonna say 7-5. I think they'll get a winning record this year. One more better win than Kyle suggested.
In my brief scroll about 5 minutes ago, I think 6-6 seems right. Your gut feeling.
Yeah, 5-7. I think they just miss out on a bowl game.
I'm siding with one Johnny Zawislak here. I think they go 7-5. I think they beat a couple of teams that I don't want to say they're not so much expected to beat. We've talked a lot about how they're bringing in some pretty good teams from Conference USA, but I think they have a chance of being 7-5. I think they're going to surprise some people. Last question here, last mailbag question to close out the pod this week. And again, is from our friend Pat Egan from 97.5 The Fanatic and John Kincaid Show. Also has his own show on the weekends with Andrew Salchunas. Pat, again, his story is he went to Newman, but he's a huge Temple fan. So his question, he's not the only person to bring this up. A lot of former players like Lynn Greer have said they're going to be around a lot more. They did not feel welcomed under the old regime. I found it strange that former players would say this after another former player was let go. I put this on our message board in the interest of full disclosure. When I put up that Lynn Greer interview, it said something like, Lynn Greer excited for Temple's future. I'll be around a lot more. I realized that lacked context. No, Lynn and Aaron have never had any beef. So I did not mean for that to be misleading. Lynn and Aaron have gotten along for a long time. I just think it's more like, at least for now, I think that a lot of former players either came back for that press conference or they watched it and they were saying like, wow, this guy has a lot of energy. That's not to say that Aaron was bad in his opening press conference. I think they presented it well. It was at McGonigal. It was this retro feel and all this stuff. But I think there, at least for now, there is some discernible energy. You have a guy in Adam Fisher who seems to be a little bit more forward-facing, energetic about like today's college basketball and doing what he needs to do when it comes to NIL and stuff like that. And saying, hey, to the former players, this will always be your program. Don't call me, don't text me, just stop by. For the time being, in mid-April 2023, I think that resonated with a lot of guys. So no, Pat, I don't think there was really any beef with the former players. I think just like any group of alums, I think former players are going to start to say, hey, is this not working out? This was the year that, we were supposed to go to the tournament. There might've been a little bit of dissent there, but no, I mean, Aaron is still very, very well regarded among former players. So there's no beef there that I know of.
And to Lynn's credit, there very easily could have been. I mean, he interviewed for an assistant coaching job that he didn't get. Ended up going to Chris Clark, who's still here, 3 regimes later.
Yeah.
To his credit, I wouldn't have blamed them if there was some animosity, but from everything you're hearing, there was not.
Yeah. And second part of Pat's question, and in honor of Will Levis putting mayo in his coffee, I must have missed this. I didn't realize
that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's things that some keto people do. Keto people do that.
Whoa.
Instead of putting like creamer in or whatever, like they'll do that. So I think my wife tried it one time and she was like, absolutely not. Like, what is this?
I mean, mayo.
I respect it. I do respect it. I've never had mayo, but I respect it.
Have you ever had mayo, period?
I can't eat mayo.
Yeah, he's allergic.
It's a whole thing.
To eggs or to mayo?
To eggs, yeah.
Okay.
What will happen if you eat eggs?
I mean, you're not missing that.
I was in the hospital in May. Just kind of swelled up, couldn't breathe. It was a good time.
Oh, that answers that. And last year it was Sam Cohn in his gluten intolerance.
Hopefully you handle your limitations with more grace than Sam did.
You know what? Being in the same conversation as Sam Cohn alone is just an honor.
Don't.
Kyle.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie.
Please do not put Sam on a pedestal.
This will get to Sam, and Sam's gonna,
and Sam will take it in stride.
Oh yeah, he will.
Yeah. So again, in honor of Will Levis, again, the Kentucky quarterback who might be a top 10 draft pick, putting mayo in his coffee. And again, I still can't get over that. Coffee just kickstarts you enough. Can you imagine putting mayo in your coffee?
Well, I don't think the mayo is gonna like kickstart you more.
No, I mean kickstart your stomach.
It's definitely flavors.
Oh, you mean wait? Does mayo
it's a natural diuretic? I mean, like you want to get to the toilet quick.
Does it? Is it
coffee?
No, mayo.
Health tips right
for me.
here.
For me, maybe. And am I sharing?
I can't say I've ever had like mayo on a sandwich and be like, you know what? I'm gonna blow up a toilet. Like I can't say that's ever happened.
Not necessarily.
I wouldn't put that in the same thing as like prunes or coffee.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is so Pat's question, the second part, in honor of Will Levis putting mayo in his coffee, what is your that serial killer stuff habit for food? We all have one. So do you have a weird, like, why do you put that in your food? Kyle, I'll start with you.
Well, I don't think I have that many weird things. The first thing that came to mind is I put mustard on fries, which my wife has told me is crazy. But
that's why.
But entirely for me, look, I don't want to gain weight, so a lot of the things I try to do is like ketchup in my mind is just wasted calories, and mustard is 0 calories, and I enjoy the taste of mustard. Like, why wouldn't I do this? That's me trying to like healthify a non-healthy like thing though. I'm like, how do I make fries less bad for you? So I do mustard. I'll say mustard on fries.
Declan, anything weird? Serial killer habits for food.
My habits, I'm trying to think. I think the biggest thing that people don't like about me is I put Parmesan cheese on a lot of things that I probably should not.
No, I was literally just going to say that.
I'll put it in like soup and stuff like that.
Oh,
that's
John literally was just going to say that. I've been teased in the past for putting. Well, that's more like an Italian thing. You'll put Parmesan cheese on top of chicken noodle soup. Todd Zawislak would tease me for it, like, Johnny, you got to let your soup breathe here. But no, Parmesan cheese on soup. I'm in support of that. Yes, it is. Yeah,
I'll put it on like unnecessary like foods. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but pretty much anything I eat.
But like, how much are you putting on the soup?
Oh, it depends. Like pasta, I'll put like an exorbitant amount.
Well, you're supposed to like people put it on pasta. That's fine.
No, but like,
the
too
soup.
much. I'll get yelled at.
So
like
Parmesan cheese with a side of pasta.
Pretty much, yeah. I love me some Parmesan cheese. Just for whatever reason, and I can't even like eat slices of cheese by themselves. But you put Parmesan cheese on anything, and I'm down. Like.
Oh, I have another thing. I'll eat lunch meat just by itself out of the fridge, like pretty regularly. Once or twice a week, I'll be like, I'm just gonna eat turkey, like this entire serving of.
I don't
turkey.
think that's that crazy.
Yeah, I don't think that's weird.
Kind of crazy.
Turkey's weird, John.
No, I said I don't think that's weird at all.
Oh, okay.
No,
I said turkey is crazy. I can't. I don't like turkey. I can't do it.
This is like whenever it's the same thing when I talk to Javon. Whenever you're talking to like 22-year-olds, they're just like it's just, oh yeah, like, well, that's crazy because you're entirely going off like flavor base. Once you get to my age and everything is like, is this going to give me gastritis? Is this going to have too much calories? Is like there's other factors in the food than just taste. Turkey checks a lot of the boxes.
I rescind my comment. I respect that.
Johnny, any weird food habits?
For me, I think I'm a ketchup connoisseur, and I know Kyle mentioned that ketchup is a wasted calories, but I put ketchup on a lot of things, and one of the things that I get made fun of for is I put ketchup on my mashed potatoes.
That's like a fairly normal thing.
I think I've heard. I don't think I've done it though.
Mm-hmm. I get made fun of. My family makes fun of me a lot.
You're not a ketchup on steak guy, are you?
It depends on my mood.
Oh no,
I've started to get more into steak sauce though.
Even that's not great for steak. Like the whole point of like a good steak is that it's not going to need the sauce.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Yeah,
I will combat that because sauce was made for a reason. Okay,
yeah, to mask shitty steaks. If I have a
good steak, I'm gonna put a little more sauce on it,
no,
and then it's
the sauce was made for like, hey, we know you're eating this like bottom dollar steak that like you guys couldn't prepare right. Dump A1 sauce or Heinz 57 on it, and like just get through it. But like otherwise,
I disagree. I think if you use sauce to enhance flavor, you don't hide flavor with sauce. I think if I'm
with a normal
steak,
a normal sauce, I would agree. But I think with steak, the steak sauce hides the flavor.
I love steak sauce.
Welcome to the Declan Landis Culinary Academy.
Just dump shit on your food and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I am not one to be teaching people how to, eat food, but that's just my opinion. That's at the end of the day, that was the question. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Can only answer what I was asked.
I don't know if I have any, like, I don't know if I really have. Maybe I do, and I just can't think of anything. Serial killer food habit stuff. I thought like the Parmesan cheese was one. I don't put. My grandfather used to put mustard on his cheesesteaks, and we used to tease him for that. I do love mustard. I don't know. I don't really know if I have anything. This is one of those things again. I'll think of something after the fact. Johnny, you don't have anything else other than the ketchup on mashed
I do,
on mashed
but
potatoes?
The ketchup is a good one.
Yeah, but I know my cousin puts ranch on her pizza.
No, a lot of people like that.
A lot of people do that. I mean, that's like the whole.
crazy.
That's like a big portion of like buffalo chicken pizza.
Yeah.
Is ranch.
I don't know. It just doesn't like the.
I don't do it with like
ranch
normal
itself
pizza
on like a plain pizza.
No,
No, a lot of people do that.
a lot of people do that. I don't, but a lot of people do. I put milk on oatmeal, which my wife tells me is weird.
No, it's delicious.
You make the oatmeal and you want to cool it down a little bit, put some milk in there. Good to go.
You can make it with milk. Like that just makes
I don't think
I do it regularly, and then I kind of just like pour the milk on top of it and mix
That's
it
valid.
in. Yeah.
Kyle watched me eat a buffalo chicken sandwich and fries and drink a beer before we got on the plane to go to the Temple Houston 2015 American Athletic Conference Championship game.
What a day.
Not that any of that was abnormal, but I looked like a serial killer when I was running to the back of the plane to rush to go to the bathroom.
So you have plenty like non-food related serial killer moments, but the food, nothing's sticking out. You have there's some habits of Johnny. John, I can't say Johnny now. There's some habits of John.
Yeah, which one are we talking about? Yeah, Kyle told me, he's like, all you've done is awoken the sleeping giant.
Oh yeah, the quote from World War II. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I like to say that my stomach held up fine. If anything, it was stronger for that flight.
Yeah.
I'm not eating Biscoffs, and you're just
my favorite Kelly Clarkson song.
Stronger.
Yeah,
what does it make you stronger?
It's a great song.
I think Behind These Hazel Eyes is probably mine.
That is a good one too. And
Runaway. Breakaway. Breakaway is good.
Breakaway. She's got some bangers.
Yeah, she's got some bops. She doesn't get enough credit.
Rymir and Cayden had to run out as we bring this to a close. Kyle, how'd these guys do? How'd these guys do in the first episode?
1 to 10.
You don't want to inflate anybody too high. I mean, look, there's plenty of podcasts, including this one probably, that you and I, John, don't bring our 10 game. Sometimes we're doing 6s, 7, 8s. But I'd say solid. I mean, there's been some low bars in the last 10 years, and you guys were not the low bar, so that's all you can do.
That's all we can ask for. I think that's probably the nicest thing anybody said to me.
Let's just reel off some bad people. Jamie Gray, Matt Bender,
Jamie's a sweetheart.
He actually
Matt Bender.
Yeah, he's actually just
I need to edit this out tonight.
Matt
all the
Bender.
Sams.
all this.
Kyle's just putting these people in a shooting gallery. Matt would laugh so much.
Matt gave me the freedom to just take over the show, so I actually appreciate it.
Hearing Matt's laughter in the background when you went on your Jim Boeheim rant was enjoyable to me. Jamie Gray.
We need to talk about that because I've got some negative feelings toward Jim Boeheim, but not today because I know
he got his comeuppance eventually.
Yes.
8 years later.
Yeah. Jamie Gray, who was our dedicated intern and engineer of the podcast. Didn't Jamie tell that story about how he sprained his ankle and some guy in an Uber prayed over his sprained ankle or something like that?
Yeah. He sprained his ankle trying to jump down the entire flight of stairs to catch a subway.
Yeah.
Didn't catch the subway, had the Uber to wherever he was going, and the Uber driver pulled over and put like voodoo on his ankle.
Jamie's like a seasoned marathon runner, has like 0.8% body fat now. So, good for Jamie.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, good job, guys.
I just don't see the point. You don't lose the good years.
Thank you so much.
Just eat whatever you want.
Pleasure. This was awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for another episode. And again, thank you to our sponsor of the Scoop, Greenspan and Greenspan Injury Lawyers. We'll be back with you guys next week. Probably have more portal developments, more recruiting developments, more football recruiting developments. Again, we'll have some more football recruiting news for you. Check out some of Johnny's content that will be up on the site soon. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.